yes, tyranny of slave, for death of freedom, a final choice. Those on the stone, you don't like you cowards, do it down the lane. This war is wrong to be.
What's up, guys? Our wrestling podcast back at you with another episode. This is Dave Vicious, along with Just the Total Package, Craig the British Bulldog, bringing you our perspective on the world of professional wrestling. No inside sources, no ties to the industry, just stories from the diehards, sharing opinions with you. Today's topic, the beginning of the Monday Night Wars. Jess, what are we doing?
It's September. Happy September, everybody. You know, the summer's over, thank God, because I'm tired of triple-digit weather here in SoCal. But September is very special to us because it was in September that WCW Monday Nitro and WWF Raw went head-to-head for the first time on September the 11th, 1995. What, Jess? But I thought that Nitro debuted the week before on the holiday. They did. Nitro debuted the week before, unopposed, from the Mall of America. That's the famous, clip that they always play of Nitro from the mall. That was the very, very first Nitro, yes, but it was unopposed. The next week, which, like I said, September the 11th, 1995, they went head-to-head for the very first time. Who won? Who lost? I don't know. We'll talk about that. So I just thought, you know what? Instead of just doing a pay-per-view review or anything, I want to review the first time that these two mammoth wrestling giants here in the United States took shots at each other. And it started early, let me tell you, especially on WCW's end of it with the shots back and forth. So it's going to be interesting to see. And we are going to rate them, and we got to keep everything in mind. Some of these matches are prelim matches and meant to be really quick. So, we're not going to be too hard on them or anything like that, because obviously every match is probably an F. And
both shows only an hour also. So important to note that.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up.
3 hours.
Do you remember that? Can you believe, like, when I first saw that on the thing? That's why I wanted us to review both shows, because I thought you guys would groan at me. And I think I even said something like, don't worry, they're only both an hour. Back when times were simpler, people, WCW Nitro and Monday Night Raw, only an hour long every week. What?
If you had made us watch 6 hours plus for non-pay-per-view shows,
I would
have gone to your house and killed
Oh, yeah, no, and I would have deserved it. I would have deserved everything, all the hate that you could give me.
Yeah. Like Jess said, September 11th, 1995, we have the Knight Center in Miami for Nitro. Jess, I don't remember the exact venue, but I know it's in Canton, Ohio for Raw. You want to give us our champs back in those days?
And a little note here, too. We were talking about it before we went on the air here. Excuse me. Raw not shown the week before, like we just stated earlier. But the first ever event here, Nitro was live every Monday, even up until its dying day in 2001. Raw here was taped. They would do a live Raw, and then they would keep you prisoner in the building for another 3 hours, and then tape the next 2 weeks of Raw. So it would be a live Raw, at the beginning of the month, and then they would do tape show, and then they would do another live or whatever. This was during that. They even had the week off. They called this the new fall season at the beginning of this Raw.
Premiere.
And it was taped. So the first ever head-to-head matchup, it was a taped Raw versus a live Nitro here, which is an interesting choice, which showed you that Vince was like, I don't care. At that point, he was just let him debut and do the thing. And
I'm not afraid.
Yeah, so we'll do the champions
apparently, here. I was going to say, you're afraid to answer my question until now. God damn, answer my question.
And we'll start reviewing Raw first, so I'll do the Raw champions here. The Raw World Heavyweight, the Raw World Heavyweight Champion.
Step away from it.
The Universal
Champion.
I thought you were totally going to step away from that.
Oh no, the World Wrestling Federation Heavyweight Champion of the Universe was Diesel here. Intercontinental Champion was Jonathan Michaels, and the WWF Tag Team Champions here were Yokozuna and Owen Hart.
Yeah. What about them WC Dubs?
We'll do that right before we do Nitro.
Okay, so we're gonna start Raw first. We'll
separate it. Let's do Raw first, and it's the tape show. It deserves to go first.
Yeah, that's true. All right. So I took notes the best I could. It was a little off, but let me know if I missed anything. We opened to Vince talking about SummerSlam and one of the greatest matches ever with a Shawn Michaels versus Razor Ramon ladder match for the Intercontinental title. Then Vince gives us those great opening lineups to Monday Night Raw. We'll talk about them as they come down. I don't want to spoil too much.
Tell me you're not
yeah.
proud of your world champion without telling me you're not proud of your world champion when he gushes over an Intercontinental Championship match from the night before or at SummerSlam.
But you would admit, we all agree.
I mean, I wouldn't advertise Diesel and Mabel either, so maybe I just made a point against myself.
But still, it is one of the greatest matches ever. We've talked about it.
Yeah.
It sets the tone for ladder matches for the future. I don't know if you have TLC without this match.
That's true.
As it's saying, so it's worth noting. Vince recognizes it right away. It's a great match. Sorry, Greg.
They do push. They're pushing just kind of. It's a 2-card Raw with both those guys in action. Even though you just saw them theoretically the night before, even though it was pre-taped. But that's the whole crux of this Raw.
And at least different opponents, yeah, right.
And that's what we're talking about is the difference between now and 1995, and even the difference between, we'll talk later, of Nitro and Raw as a product is
completely different.
This whole show is really just 2 matches, and it's Ramon and Bulldog and Michaels and Sid, which 2 good matches, but that's your whole
and
Monday Night
like
Raw.
we said, it was only an hour, so it's not like they were stretching it over 3 hours or 2 hours.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Match number 1, we have Razor Ramon. Oh, by the way, our commentators here are Vince McMahon and Jerry the King Lawler. Not the best.
We're not sure if they were there live. Sorry.
And definitely in the beginning.
Vince McMahon was definitely there live because he doesn't. But there's the opening shot. They are in green screen. So, and the audio sounded like they kind of were doing it from Stanford. So I don't know whether McMahon is running the show.
You can tell
here.
the sound, like the way they're talking. Like when you're live and you have a live crowd right next to you, even if you have headphones on, you're talking differently. But when it's from the sound studio, it's a Coliseum Home Video presents. It's like a they could use their normal talking voice.
And by the way, they attempted to sell SummerSlam on Coliseum based on that ladder match.
That clip, that's
buy it on Coliseum.
Coliseum Home Video presents SummerSlam '95. Shawn Michaels gets
such a long time ago. Get your $80 videotape now. Pretty much. It's a different world. Sorry, go back to match number 1: Razor Ramon versus the British Bulldog with Jim Cornette in his corner. We got a nice little heel run by Davey Boy here.
Yeah, Davey had just turned heel like 2 or 3 weeks before. And for the record, he cut his long hair off, and I love his tights and his look here. I thought Bulldog looked fantastic here. Like, he looked awesome. Like, great unveiling of his heel character. I loved it.
I gave this match a solid B. I thought it had good back and forth. I mean, I'm giving it the non-pay-per-view kind of grades here. I also did not think that Razor was going to get Davey into a Razor's Edge. That was so crazy. And by all means, Razor should have won that match, right? But we get some interference with the 1-2-3 Kid trying to help out and kind of screws the pooch on that one. And Razor loses the match thanks to the 1-2-3 Kid's interference. What do you give it, Craigers? And what do you have to say about the handsome British Bulldog?
My Bulldog. I thought the clip of when he turned, Davey was just never quite had that, like, 5th gear that could make him just like a legend. Like, even when he turned on Diesel and he's slapping around, it's just he's didn't quite sell it. Like they even in the video package, it's like, But I agree with Jess. Like, I love the shorter hair. Good match with Razor.
I love his tights. I love just the all white tights. It was awesome.
Yeah, I don't really remember these tights. Like Bullet one side and Blue Dog on the other side. Like.
Coming up. The Kid from the top. Oh, down across Razor. Wait a minute. The official has just given the timekeeper a signal to ring the bell, and the British Bulldog mows down the 1-2-3 Kid. What's this decision going to be?
Well, it's clear to me, McMahon, what the decision is. The referee has disqualified Razor Ramon because of outside interference by the Kid. What? The Kid has cost Razor the match.
I gave it a C+, and I mean that in a good way. It was a solid opener. I mean, the only reason why I didn't give it a B was because that it's a DQ finish, but I get it. It's their weekly episodic show. So they're pushing the storyline. Douglas comes in there because he was feuding kind of with Ramon at the time. He gets in there. He tries. He interferes. Absolutely beats the shit out of 1-2-3 Kid. And then 1-2-3 Kid gets his wits about him, goes to help Ramon, and then the ref sees him splash, or Bulldog gets up. Bulldog was going for the cover. That's right. He power slammed it, going for the cover. Kid was going to jump off the top rope to break up the cover, but Bulldog sat up, and the Kid accidentally splashed Ramon, causing the DQ. So Bulldog won by disqualification. And then we go into a
Which
interview
is kind of
segment.
dumb, because if you hit Razor, wouldn't Davey be disqualified? I mean, just saying. You know,
I thought that
isn't
as
how-
well. I thought that. I was like, wait a minute, shouldn't the ref consider that helping Davey, so Davey should get DQ'd? Like, but it didn't.
But he
happen.
knew they were friends.
Yeah, the ref is
Well,
super
were
invested in
they?
everyone.
Were they? Because I'm telling you, we continued the controversy between the 1-2-3 Kid and Razor Ramon, where you could definitely see a pending match coming up. And sure enough, one of these kids like, "I'm gonna beat you next week. Prove you wrong." Stop treating
God,
me
it
like
was
a child."
so they were already
bad
set it-
too.
Yeah, they're already setting it
Yeah.
up. It was bad acting. Vince was the interviewer in the middle of the ring behind Dave up there.
Little
And,
shit stirrer.
yeah, it was just bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's all, "What are you talking about, kid? You're just." I wrote the script, so I need to get my shit across. Like,
I'm
oh,
just talking about Dean and his intelligence. You're the one that's saying that you.
You
was the original-
basically
Vince
cost
McMahon's the
Razor the
original
match. You're
gaslighter.
kind of a piece of crap.
McMahon's like
Yeah.
mouthing his lines.
I could be,
Just say it. Just say it.
I'd be,
And you guys mentioned earlier the whole time Lawler is talking over the interview, which
Oh,
Yes,
that's what infuriated
what I
Vince
fucking
McMahon.
hated, and that's Vince was in the ring having a live in the middle of the ring interview, and every fucking sentence that any of them would utter, Jerry's like, "What are you talking about? What do you mean, Ramon? What are you talking about? No, the kid's gonna get you. What are you talking about? He beat you." Like, every fucking- it was awful. It was like 4 people in the segment, and I
It was
hated
years
it. I
before
fucking
puppies.
hated it. I fast forwarded it
always
to the
said
main
that.
thing.
Match number 2, the Smoking Gun versus Brad Rafford and the Brooklyn Brawler. Hey, who's Brad also, by the way?
No, Rad
So
Rapper.
everybody
Louis Spicoli.
I'm
was
sorry,
Louis
Rad
Spicoli.
Rafford, not Brad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Who's also
he
their
was Louis
their,
Spicoli. Rest
their-
in peace. He died when he was in WCW in '98. I think is when he died. Like, he was a pretty good hand in there. He's actually a pretty good worker, and he was friends with a lot of the guys in the back too. But
it's a squash match. You know, the Smoking Guns get all their great stuff in, even though Rad and the Brawler kind of do a little cheating in the beginning. They hit him before the bell. Those dastardly heels. But it's a squash match. I give every squash match a C or below. Yeah. Can I just say something real quick? Every Goldust vignette I can get my hands on, I love it.
it's so
So
funny.
That's
I
right,
wrote the
cuts
note
to
here.
Goldust.
I wrote the note. My note I wrote here was a lot of people when you watch them early on, develop their character. You could see early on it wasn't quite gelling at first, and then they got better with it. He was just Goldust from the start. Like,
He had
I know
he
it
had
was
it
a
figured out
pre-tape vignette or whatever, but it was his generic makeup. He didn't end up having makeup like this. He barely colored the eyes black. He was just really all like in gold, and he had like a hat on, a weird not top hat. Was it a top hat or was it
Did
like
you
a?
see him playing with his long hair that wasn't real hair?
Yeah, he's
He was,
playing with his long
playing-
hair.
I was like, you're,
You know,
you're a little too good at this.
Dustin
Yeah.
just understood this character from the get-go, and you know it's so
Yeah.
far ahead of its time. But yeah, this is before he physically debuted in the ring. They were starting to show vignettes every
And
week
it was
of him.
27 years ago, and Dustin's still going.
He's in the best shape
Yeah.
now.
He's in
whole
better
life.
shape than he's ever been too. Yeah.
27
cool.
years ago.
It was cool to see
That's
an early
insane.
Goldust little promo here.
Vignette.
vignette.
I wasn't expecting it. I was like, oh, that's a little gem here. It was nice.
Yeah,
Match number 3, Isaac Yankem versus a nobody. I don't even know who it was. I don't think it was even announced. I tried to find it.
It
I
was like
couldn't-
Scott Taylor or someone.
Scott Taylor. I couldn't even figure it out. It's another squash, probably in the
I'd
F
put
range.
Jobber.
Yeah, versus Jobber.
yeah. Even for a squash match, this was shit.
Too
Of course,
long.
at first,
It was too long. It was
too
terrible.
long. And Kane tried to wrestle, and I'm like, "You're a big
I love how
guy."
you said Kane. It's Isaac
You're gonna
Yankem,
be-
Jess.
yeah, I know. It's Isaac Yankem tried to wrestle.
Who is Kane though?
Glenn-
I mean,
Glenn
you
Jacobs
see
tried
it right
to
away. Yeah, Glenn Jacobs.
Yeah, Glenn Jacobs tried to wrestle and it didn't work out well. Like he should be big booting, fucking power bomb, choke slam, see ya. Like he's a
Yep.
big ass motherfucker. And then he's like, it lasted longer than it should have, and it was like these safe
Yeah.
moves, like he was performing them in a wrestling school, and I was like, boring. Like,
Yeah,
just-
I put another squash F, but those scrub pants looked incredibly comfortable. I would wrestle in those.
the most comfortable wrestler of the night, easily.
Match number 4, Psycho Sid versus Shawn Michaels for the Intercontinental title. We were talking about this earlier. I just couldn't believe. Yeah, Sid's just like, give me the check. Let's go play softball. It didn't even.
So Vince, I had an awesome ladder match at SummerSlam with Ramon. What's on my horizon? Well, Sid. Oh fuck. Okay. God damn it. Like,
Not even like
Give me-
that, but you know it's not even like that. He's like, well, I can do what I want, right? And Vince is like, yes, sweetie, you get to do whatever you want.
yes,
Yes,
and
sweetie.
I'm this match really angers me, but I hate to say it, it's a good match, like because
Yeah, it
there's
is.
there is no bad Shawn Michaels match. But
it's
you couldn't
not.
do-
Yeah. I'll just jump in. I gave it
Yeah.
a B- only because I thought it was slow only because Michaels had to. Like,
sure. Yeah.
Like, he did everything he could. Michaels, his movements, I hate him so fucking much. Like, I hate him because everything he does is perfect. Everything. Like, even when he's in there with Sid, he moves. Sid is like a cardboard cutout. Like, literally, like, anything he does, Sid is like just, go. There's like Sid's moving through like wet concrete, like, all the time.
And he carries him.
Yeah, Michaels carried him and fucking, like, did things to make the fans pop when he needed to, and the way he sold, and, like, I fucking hate him. But, like, every time I watch him, like, oh, you fucking asshole, like, you are good.
And all I kept thinking during Shawn is, like, you forget, like, his whole gimmick is basically just, instead of Hogan must pose, it's Shawn must strip. And
I wrote that. Are we done? Can I go off? Because I fucking hate.
Go.
One more thing I want to say though is, did you guys notice before the match started and Shawn came out? He said, "Hey, all you cats and kittens." I'm like, was he watching Carol Baskin even back then?
Right.
He said cats and kittens. I'm like, how did you?
It was
where
a
did
very
that even come from?
Tiger King thing.
Yeah. But I said B+. It could have been higher if the finish is clean, works good. It's like a David versus Goliath, even though Shawn is in a bear hug, and he can't punch his way out of it but he thumbs in the eye out of it. I'm like, that's actually really smart. Why don't you just thumb the eye? Dave. Yeah, but that would put a big man to put you down.
Sid looks at the lights clean. What we have
Ventura said all the time. He's like, you know what'll stop any big man, Gorilla? A thumb to the eye, like all.
But this is what I wrote. I said it's also nice that Sid
shut the fuck up, Jesse.
It's nice that Sid doesn't care about the outcome. He just cares about the check. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gone out.
He was gone. He was gone shortly after this.
He's like, whatever. Just go for it.
Shawn Michaels now with trigger. No! Hurry! 1, 2,
So, okay, just go off, bro. Go off on the striptease.
For a minute of weakness, when we were talking about something, I don't remember what episode it was from, I actually said, you know what? I don't blame Shawn for his face character when he won the title at WrestleMania 12 in 96 and did the whole Boyhood Dream thing. I was like, because Vince shoved him down our throat, and then you put like this old, unrelatable guy, Jose Lothario, with him, and you try to make him this majorly sympathetic babyface, and that was never Shawn. And I was like, they kind of sabotaged that run in a way. I felt that way until I watched this. And then I stopped. And even though we've debuted other things of him, there's a lot more women fans now in professional wrestling. I think it's all safe to say. Of course, there's far more women fans now, and that's great because the women are awesome. The division's awesome too. But back here, 99.9% of your audience was male. And your top act, or going to be your top act in about 4 months or whatever, but still, Vince's favorite, really, let's be honest, even back here in 95, it is allowed to go out there and pretend he's going to strip. So much, in fact, that he exposes his pelvic bone almost all the way on almost every time. And I'm like, if you're trying to turn off hot too, dude. Because even after he won the title, Michaels would still do it. Like when you won the world title. Yeah. And I'm like, you are turning off everybody. It's one thing if you're a heel and you want to be irritating. That's fine. Strip away. I don't care. Show me your dick. I don't fucking care. Yeah. But when you're a face, you do that shit. And like Dave said, it was the Hogan must pose time. It's everybody has. It's funny that they make fun of Hogan, but every good wrestler has a thing that they do after they win when they celebrate, and it's the
if they're Hogan on top. Pose. Yeah,
Michaels shows his dick, or almost does, and and other people do other things. Bret Hart shows on his hand how many times he's won the title. That was Bret's big thing, and it's just. But for Vince not to be like, listen, we have a male dominating audience out. Shawn, stop that shit. If you were heel, I'd be okay with it because you get people to hate you. That's one thing. But by the way, when you were heel, you didn't do that. And now you're doing it. And I don't know if Vince was trying to be like, well, Shawn's a good looking guy. And he was. He's hot as shit. And maybe Vince was like, maybe I can attract women with Michaels. But I still wouldn't go way overboard and be like, your celebration, just hear me out, should be you pretending and almost getting naked.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I could not connect with him. As talented as he was in the ring, even as a fan back here, I was like, I don't. And I was 18 years old in '95. I was like, I don't relate with you when you do stupid shit like that. Like I don't. You could say Hogan's boring for posing.
At
that's
no
fine.
point did we elbow each other and be like, man, I hope he fucking. I hope we see his ass.
Like if I, as a Hogan fan, I would
love
love
so much, man. I hope take it all the way down, dude. Take it all the way down, dude. Never like.
Let's get to the Nitro piece of it, man, because this is really interesting. I'm glad we're doing it second. Because
no, and I wrote. Let me show you.
Yeah, what'd you?
I can't. We can't see it.
Shit. What does it say on the bottom? God damn it! I just had it. Why can't it show it?
It says stupid, sexy Michaels.
No, it says I hate Michaels and
I hate Michaels.
I hate him.
I
hate that I love him.
Yeah, it's a love-hate thing for sure. So in the Night Center in Miami is where Nitro is going to be going, and we have Eric Bischoff.
First ever head-to-head. Hook him up. And this is live, by the way. Nitro is live.
This is live. And there's going to be lots of things we're going to talk about as we go that makes that really relevant and important that Bischoff takes advantage of, who is one of our announcers, along with Bobby the Brain Heenan and Mongo Steve McMichaels. Yeah, that's interesting. Seems like the only one who really
right away, and I know we'll cover it right away, Dave. When Nitro opens, and there's a different lens when something's pre-taped versus when it's live. It's a different type of clarity, like right, Craig. Like it's just you could tell when something's live and when something's been pre-taped. There's like a not a filter, but there's a look to it. When you watch Nitro open, it was crisper for some reason to me. It was like it was live. It was noticeable. The colors weren't like silly. They were just gray and black and like light gray.
It was still bright. Like it used to
it was still bright. That classic entrance. So the reason why I had you guys, watch the Mall of America one at episode 1, was to show I thought it was a very odd choice that they're going to debut this show and actually try to go tit for tat with Vince McMahon on Monday nights.
Well,
and that was like what? But their first episode, they knew they were unopposed. They're like, let's do it in a setting that we'll never really do it in front of again, even though I know the spring break Nitros, they did do it in odd places. Sure. But I mean, like, it was a very bold move to put it in a mall. I wasn't a fan of it when at first. The product I was, but like a mall? I think the entire time I was watching the first one, a mall? Like every fucking commercial, a mall, really? Yeah. But then this Nitro, the Nitro number 2, that went first time head-to-head, was the traditional Nitro. I love the set here. I love it's like the metallic WCW logo on the entrance ramp, and I love the Nitro logo here. The opening was fucking awesome with the fucking manhole covers. But Nitro opens up and it's just, and Nitro is like just a breath of fresh air. Yeah. The look, I'm talking about the production.
But you could see like the overexcitement and nervousness of Bischoff. Like they are. It looks like they all had. It looks like they all had 12 cups of coffee.
His first line when he said, "Hey, welcome to Nitro. I might be living in my car at the end of this month if you guys don't fucking watch the show." He said that, and then Mongo said, "Calm down." I have a feeling for like 80 something weeks you might do well, and he's like, "Oh, okay, then we're fine."
82 to 84, somewhere in between.
It's so weird here that this is the first ever head-to-head of what it would become or whatever, and we're gonna pick apart this Nitro. It wasn't perfect, but the feel of it, and I'm not trying to jump on the Nitro bandwagon, but the feel of it was just good. Like I just loved the feeling of it. And as a fan, I remember 18-year-old Jess flipping over. I'm sure I flipped over during the Isaac Yankem match. I know I flipped over during the Smoking Gun tag match. It was just something you wanted to see on Nitro.
It was different in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it was really good.
We get a Lex Luger Hulk Hogan interview replay from last week. It's kind of weird. It looks like there's WCW originals versus WWF originals. It's kind of odd.
And also the week before was the infamous moment where Lex Luger fucking just showed up in the aisleway.
When he had wrestled, just said he literally wrestled the night before on a house show for WWF, and then came on
house show on that Sunday night for WWF, and then the next night he debuted on.
Came out live on Nitro on September 4th. It's just
Luger was actually, and 3 weeks before, Luger was at SummerSlam '95. 3 weeks before.
Yeah.
So like it's just crazy. Bischoff threw the first shot right away when they were unopposed by having this guy. He wanted to blur the lines. I love the story about this. Like it's just Bischoff's like if we were
wanted to come where the big boys play, right?
Yeah, if we're gonna be live, he's like, I wanted people to go. I have to watch that show. It's live, and like Luger just showed up. And you could say what you want about Luger was like a lower mid-carder kind of by that time, and he probably was. When WWF let him go or he left. But like at the same time, Bischoff's like, yeah, but he used to be here a long time ago, and people will just be shocked to see someone that they just saw over there. Like, how could he just walk straight in
Who
here?
still looked great. Who still had a great body.
He looked phenomenal.
Looked really good.
It's insane.
So that's the preface. I wanted to preface that before, as Dave talks about the setup.
Yeah.
That's why the main event here tonight is what it is.
It's such a big deal. Yeah. Match number 1, I said Sabu versus Alex Wright, and I wrote, this has every meaning to be a disaster, and somebody might die because it's Sabu.
The first Nitro teased the Sabu. They had a package on the Mall of America Nitro
to show Sabu. Yeah. I give it like a C to C-. Alex had some really good moves. I really enjoyed the superplex, but Sabu also takes liberties after the match once he wins, which is kind of a weird way to win as well. It's kind of oddball, but because of the liberties he takes out on Alex Wright, meaning slamming through a table, they reverse that decision and give the win to Alex Wright, which I was like, oh, okay, that was dumb, but whatever. And then I just wrote, did anyone see the beers that were actually in the ring area? Like, those guys had all their beers.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
I wanted Alex Wright to kick over all of them. Like,
yeah, really did. I'm like, what are you doing?
But also, too, like, what a different crowd, right? You had already college students and that kind of crowd in WCW, and then we just watched Raw. It was all families and kids.
Yeah.
But this is the crowd that Michaels need to get naked in front of.
I'll do just about anything. You can't predict a 1-2.
Did he get him?
Yes, he got it.
Here's your winner, Sabu!
Both those guys don't know where they are.
I mean, this is the debut of Sabu, and comes in and beats Alex Wright, knocks him off just like that.
What do you got for it, Craig?
It was cool to see Sabu in a WCW ring.
Didn't know that.
I give it a C-D for execution. Don't bring Sabu in, and don't let him play with tables, and don't let him be suicidal, homicidal.
So out of his element.
Then reverse the decision and then Alex Wright won't lay down on the table. He sits up, and Sabu has to
Sabu just says fuck it and jumps off on him.
It
was a very strange, clunky matchup anyway.
Very, very Sabu-y is what
and the way it ends with kind of like a Hurricane Rana Arabian facebuster off the top and a strange kind of pin.
Yeah.
Oh man, it was just weird, and I don't think Sabu lasted very long in WCW.
No, he's not.
Alex is out. He has no idea, and he broke the table. Both men in. Sushi. Let's hear. Wait a minute. Let's go to Dave Pinzer.
Ladies and gentlemen, referee Nick Patrick
what's going on
has
here?
reversed his decision and has disqualified Sabu. The winner for disqualification is Alex Wright.
Yeah, for what? He beat the man in the middle of the ring.
How about attempted manslaughter?
This
How's
was
that
after
for
the
one?
match.
But same.
And so I give
same
you
thing
can say
here,
what you want about Bischoff, but you're right. The match was clunky and shitty, and if somebody gave it an F, I wouldn't disagree with them and even the table spot they fucked up. But to Bischoff's point, what he says a lot on his podcast, he's like, it felt unsafe. It felt like, oh, something's gonna fuck up right now, and he's all, that's why I loved live television. So when Turner gave him this opportunity, he's like, hell yeah, I hope everything fucks up, because he's like, it's that's how we're different than Raw. Raw's pre-taped, it's sleek, it's produced well. I don't give a shit. He's like, I want it to be like this different thing.
I mean, 60 seconds in, Sabu sets up a chair and then actually launches, and Alex Wright moves, and he launches himself into the metal barricade, which you never really see in WWF at all. You just see
it was totally
Sabu
different
destroy
stuff.
his own body. Yep.
Mean Gene Okerlund is going to interview Ric Flair. He's joined by Lex Luger briefly, and I look at this and I'm just like, what the hell was this purpose? You could have just had Flair go out there and just be Flair, but he had to work the main event in. It didn't make any sense. And Luger gets in there with him, and when he starts plugging the main event and Luger's going to win, well, you haven't changed at all, Rick. And then he walks away, and I'm like, what was that? That was the dumbest thing
I'll tell you what it was. It was an excuse to march Flair out there. That's all it was.
I get all that, but why even have Luger come out? Why just have him go out there, style profile, walk out? You don't need to talk about the main event.
We were talking earlier about the disrespect of Flair, and Bischoff didn't have Flair for the opening press conference for Monday Nitro.
Was that an issue here or no?
But yes, because I think he had a match with Arn It's basically the first time, and forgive me if I'm wrong, the first time Arn versus kind of Flair in a big pay-per-view and the breakup of kind of the Horsemen there.
This Nitro was the go-home show for Fall Brawl, which was that following Sunday.
So that's a huge...
And Arn fought Flair.
If you weren't trying to do mainstream and just thinking of WCW, Crockett, and NWA, to have Flair and Arn in a match where they
that's a big deal.
Had turned... It's a huge deal, and they fucked it up. And they didn't
really have Arn on.
You're in the
right.
They had him in the right place at the wrong time, is what I would say.
The week before on the opening Nitro, they did have an altercation.
Yes,
with Arn
they had
and Flair,
Arn come on,
but the go home show here for Fall Brawl, they didn't even fucking have Arn on. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's weird.
So is this? It should have been a bigger deal, and I remember the match wasn't very. It was disappointing in Fall Brawl of actually.
It was
Arn
solid.
And
It was solid, but it wasn't like the build up that two former horsemen facing each other. It wasn't like how can you live up to that? It was a solid match though.
But any fan now should have like the build up, and they really should like. I know that Bischoff and Eric was trying to focus on a bigger, wider, global launch of Nitro.
He had a hoagie.
He
had a
yellow and red toy, buddy.
Hey, by the way, we forgot. Hulk Hogan's our world champion. Sting is our U.S. champion. Who's our TV champ and tag champs here? Sorry.
Our television champion, Dave, is your favorite, the Renegade. And the tag team champions, who they were just about to lose them. I think they lost them. They were going to lose them at Fall Brawl. Bunkhouse Buck and Dirty Dick Slater.
That's ridiculous.
Would lose 5 days later to the Harlem Heat.
That's ridiculous.
Thank you for reminding me, dude. I totally forgot about that.
Not the last part. Losing the Harlem Heat, that's great. I love it.
Yeah, Harlem Heat would win them at Fall Brawl that weekend.
And Craig will tell you every time there's no better entrance music than the Harlem Heat's entrance music.
No.
It's
fantastic.
And it's always in my head all the time.
It's the best. All right. Match number 2, we got VK Wall Street versus Sting for that very United States Championship. On the line, quick note right before the match started, Bischoff actually read all the results from a taped Raw that we just discussed
I love
earlier.
this show. Look at my face.
This is so good.
This was the equivalent to tearing the territories down, to buying, to putting on Survivor Series, to block
you're gonna tape shit?
Starcade.
Guess what I'm gonna do? Yeah,
this was all the same shit. To Vince though, it was dirty tricks. It was all dirty tricks. But I'm like, it was not
dirty tricks you didn't think of.
He punched you right in the face. He punched you right in the face on this one.
Get it right.
Yeah, he knocked his dick in the dirt.
He really did.
Hey, and by the way, in case you're tempted to grab the remote control, check out the competition. Don't bother. It's 2 or 3 weeks old. Shawn Michaels beat the big guy with a super kick he couldn't earn a green belt with in a local YMCA. Stay right here. It's live. It's where the action is.
Who cares about that? They named it after a bunch of uncooked eggs. This thing sizzles here, ladies and gentlemen. Period.
Yeah,
good, because Vince would have done it too to anybody, and he did.
And don't forget, like there's always this thing I think about with Mean Gene. He talked about we always had to beat them to break because the sooner we left for break, the sooner we get back, people would flip the channel. Like they were really gonna go head to head with the big man, and it's just I love those little
you're right. Yeah, Bischoff's whole plan was like he asked permission. He's like, can we come back about 60 seconds before they come back from a commercial? They're like, why? He's like, because I'm gonna read the results of their show. And they're like, okay. Bischoff's like, cool. So he purposely came back from commercial before them, so people who were flipping is like, oh, Nitro's on, Raw's still on commercial.
And let's read the results.
Don't flip the channel if you're gonna watch. And he fucking read the results of the Raw that we just reviewed. Fuck me.
So
like it was awesome. Like it was great.
So
and by the way, and they bashed the shit out of it. They were bashing like WWF. They were making fun. Their world champion over there was I think he didn't he play in Vegas or something like that? Like it was on the line there too.
Yeah.
He's like their world champion over there barely made
their
past
top guy couldn't even make the mid card here. That's what they said.
Fucking insane. Like and
wow.
even now watching it, my mouth was wide open and I was smiling because I was like, oh, this made me excited. I was excited for every Monday, even though the quality of the matches, and we'll get in the stupid storyline later, was not good. It was just the balls of somebody else saying, you know what, we're clearly number 2, but I'm gonna punch him in the face like I'm number 1.
Yeah, try to do something different. But and by the way, this match, to me, it's a B to B plus. Sting is so good. He's so freaking good.
You know, it's funny. I gave it a B minus because I included the WWE bashing in it, and I enjoyed all of it. But Sting is amazing, you know, and
Yeah.
IRS,
Did
Mike
you
Rotunda.
you guys caught the standing drop kick by Sting? It's so good, and
Yeah.
obviously you gotta get a stinger splash, that top rope crossbody for the 1, 2,
And
3.
also, did you catch
Sting
the
wins.
tie-in? What was Rotundo's name?
VK Wall Street.
Vincent Kennedy, Wall Street. Yeah. So they was taking shots the whole time. This whole match was like, I'm gonna beat the shit out of Vince. Like this
And for
entire time.
Behind you!
He is going to pull the trigger. Flying cross body lock. Overhooks the leg. 1, 2, 3.
He got him! Okay.
That's the way you do it, Mr. Heenan.
I know how you do it. And Sting did it very, very well. A very impressive victory over BK Wall Street.
I give it a C-, almost a D here for his first kind of match, and he gets blown out by Sting. He's just, I didn't like it, and I don't.
Wow.
I loved him as Varsity Club, but
You probably
I don't think
so
he
you're
adjusted.
looking at it from Wall Street's venue, not from Sting's.
Yeah, and I respected IRS when with DiBiase, and he had some good matches, but this
That was a great
for me.
championship tag team. Yeah.
I don't know.
It's so funny.
It was
We've been on
rough,
opposite ends in all this match, and I'm like, I see everything he's saying. I see everything he's saying.
If you look
I'm
at
gonna
it
go
from that point of view, it makes
I'm
sense.
just kidding. I hated it, Dave. This match was stupid.
It's
It's true, and it was set there, and it's really weird. It's like
I
they
just love
redefined.
watching Sting when he's at his peak.
The first Nitro
Yeah.
Sting with versus Flair, I enjoyed, and even Sting here, like I'm really appreciating when I'm watching back here.
Yeah.
1995.
But you know what I always keep thinking about? It's what most people think about when I watch Sting and how clean and crispy he is, or who he's with. I'm like, God, imagine what he would have done in WWF. You just imagine.
Everybody says that.
Yeah.
all the time.
Everybody's
I know,
like,
I know it's very
imagine,
common.
like, yeah.
Yeah,
If he trusted Vince, which he never trusted him for some odd reason.
I think
It's hilarious how there was a revolving door of trust over there in WCW, but he's like, I'm not going to that guy. He just didn't for some reason. He was scared. Like, yeah.
every
Well,
6 months he had to do boss.
Not
It's
going to
like,
that fucking
Jess
guy.
and I used to make fun, like Sting's. This is not going to make sense, but I'm going to repeat it anyway. Sting's music, the man called Sting. And so
Yeah.
we would always pretend that if he was in WWF, it'd be the same music. And it would be like, the man called the Scorpion. And it would be Vince's.
Yeah, it was,
Yeah, to change
because
it.
obviously he wouldn't use Sting because he has to make it his own name or whatever. So they would call him the Scorpion or something like that. It would like, and Vince would just rehash it. He's a man called the Scorpion. Man called the Scorpion. Like it was just Vince's like,
Yeah.
the same exact
He
song.
would still
is
save money
Scorpion.
and still, yeah.
Oh man, that's hilarious. Match number 3: Scott Norton versus the Macho Man Randy Savage. Automatic F due to the Dungeon 2 finish. I was so mad. I was like, "Are you
have to stop it.
serious right now?"
This match, the ending was the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot of
But you know you laughed right when you saw it. You're
oh
like,
yeah,
what is
I belly
going
laughed.
on?
But I gave it for the match. Okay, stop. Everybody calm down. I gave it a B for the match.
It's
because
actually I understand what you're saying.
because this is why I love Randy so much.
I just got
because
so
like
mad. Sorry,
Scott
I got
Norton
so
was a
mad.
big deal in Japan, and I know that's a funny phrase to say, but he was. But Scott
He was.
Yeah, he
Scott
was.
Norton is not a bumper, right? Like he's not a seller. He's a big brute.
He's a giant.
And I just imagine like, what am I doing this week? We got you Scott Norton. I don't care. Like, and Macho Man was like, that's fine. Like,
Yeah.
and he went in
Yeah.
there, and Scott was fucking stiff. That he did the DDT like Randy Orton. You know, Randy Orton brings him
Yeah,
into the
but off the
rope,
top
breaks him.
rope, not the
Fuck,
second
like,
rope.
I forgot that fucking he
He
did
almost
that.
killed him. Yeah.
95 in dude, he was doing crazy shit to Savage. Savage was taking a goddamn beating. And when Savage gave it back, he fucking gave it back. But
Yeah.
that's why I love Savage. Like, it made me love Savage. I was like, his WCW run here, he did have more in the tank. Vince was stupid for trying to put him behind commentary. Like, Savage wanted to be stiff and wanted to get in there and, like, work with different guys than he'd ever done before. Again, this Nitro, the Sabu and Alex Wright, what? Macho Man and Scott Norton, what? Like, it's just kind of was for no reason. Now, the ending, Dave, is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, explain to the people the ending.
Yeah.
So the ending, for some odd reason, the Dungeon of Doom decided to walk down, and they were going to
Only one of them, right? Not like all 6 of them.
Yeah, no, all 30 of them.
Oh,
There
okay.
their
That's
kids were
awful then.
there. Everybody that almost became a member of Dungeon of Doom
Yeah.
came down there. So they come down, and their goal was to help Scott Norton beat Savage. So Earthquake comes or Shark or whatever the fuck his name was.
It was Shark.
John
yeah.
Tenton's
Was it Shark?
Yeah.
It
God
was Shark.
damn it.
John Tenton. John
I didn't know that.
John Tenta gets in the ring, and as he's climbing through the middle rope, Macho
reverses Ken Norton into that rope side, and Ken Norton knees him into the face.
Shark. And like Dave said, so if you're picturing it right, and Earthquake is getting in from the outside, and if Norton hits him, wouldn't it throw Earthquake back out? No, it didn't. He hit Earthquake. He falls backwards in the ring. Earthquake falls forward through the middle rope,
Makes sense.
laying passed out on his wasted legs.
Yeah, out.
So Orton can't get him off apparently because he can't just sit up.
No.
So and then Macho's like, I'm gonna drop my elbow. And the referee, I swear to God, looks at him, and you can hear the referee like, I'm fine with that. And Macho jumps off the top rope, elbows Scott Norton with Earthquake, the massive 500-pound, draping over his legs. Macho covers him, and the ref's like, everything is copacetic here.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, and counts 3. And then Macho gives the ref a $100 bill, and then the ref leaves. And
to be fair,
Avalanche is out.
He's out. Get you on, Macho. Get him.
He's out. Cannot get up. Norton's got 500 pounds across his knees. He
Get
can't
out of
get
there,
up.
Macho. Get out of there, baby.
Oh, that's not fair.
Get out of there.
The match.
What's that guy got up there in the ring? Was he trying to turn him into a popsicle?
So fed up. Match number 4, Lex Luger versus Hulk Hogan for the WCW World Title. All I wrote was, fuck the Dungeon of Doom. It's a schmoz. No grade for me. You're not getting one. You're not getting one. They wrecked this whole thing, but it does lead them into the next pay-per-view where apparently someone didn't, what did I say, dot the T's and cross the I's? Meaning,
yeah, so it was supposed to be Macho Man, Sting, Hogan, and Vader against the Dungeon of Doom.
the pay-per-view is Fall Brawl.
Yeah, Fall Brawl.
Fall Brawl War Games.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jess, go ahead.
But this was right after Vader got beat up in the locker room by Paul Orndorff and got unceremoniously fired. And he got unceremoniously fired here. So Vader, who was advertised, left. So then at this point, he got Luger. So they were writing Luger into the storyline. So basically, Luger challenged Hogan here for the world title. And I mean, it was in your mind, if you close your eyes right now, it's exactly what you thought a Hogan and Luger match would be. The match was almost like inconsequential. It was clickbait. It was clickbait for 1995 is all it was. He was trying to get people to turn it on because you got to see Luger and Hogan face off, which was a match that had never happened.
Zero build up.
Hogan had never faced Luger. Luger returning WCW. So I get why he did it. Again, we would learn quickly. This was just episode 2. We would learn that these episodes were it's episodic. So every week you had to tune in. They were trying to figure out this rhythm here of what this Monday night shows were. And even Vince was still fairly new to it. He only debuted Raw in 93. So it's just kind of amazing. We're just seeing this right now, the very first war or the first battle of the war. It was all clickbait. Nobody gave a shit, and they didn't give a shit, more importantly, what happened in the match. But after the match, it was just getting Luger to agree to take Vader's spot.
You want him in, you want him out. I'm torn apart. But the way I look at War Games, when you put all the men in the cage, we'll find out what everybody's made of, Luger. Would you be our partner, brother? We want to test you in War Games.
Yes! 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 Come on! Well, tell him! Don't make a fool out of me! Don't embarrass us! Do it!
I'll step in there in War Games, and I'll stand with you side by side, blow by blow. But one condition, I want that title shot down the line. You promised me.
There's some unfinished business
See,
here!
he's got an ulterior motive.
When they got
In the long run, it was basically like Luger agreeing to take Vader's position. So now it's going to be Luger, Hogan, Savage, Sting against the Dungeon of Doom.
But Jess, why didn't they attack Luger, the Dungeon of Doom, and they attacked
it was
Hogan?
the whole. You could tell they were trying to lay the seeds of, is Luger a tweener? Is he a good guy or a bad guy? They were trying to lay that in with you, and nobody apparently. So Bischoff called it correctly, and the whole storyline was supposed to be like, hey, when the Dungeon of Doom came and attacked, they beat up everybody except Luger, which was true. That's what you saw on the screen. But Savage and Hogan were having too many Miller Lights when they were going over the script, and they forgot. So Macho's like, answer me one question, Sting. How come the Dungeon of Doom didn't touch you or Jimmy Hart? And I'm like, what? Jimmy Hart? Craig, before we record, Craig did Jimmy Hart going, what the fuck? In the background. What do you mean? So And then so they fucked that up. And Bischoff is on commentary going, they didn't touch Luger, you idiots. They didn't touch Luger. Why didn't they touch Luger?
And he buried that boot right between the eyes. The leg drop. The cover. Now, and repeat.
This is the kind of thing I just don't understand. Oh, you've had it happening in a football field. Both benches clear. Same thing happening right here.
They are pummeling Hulk Hogan.
Come on. Here we go. And Macho's out here.
They haven't laid a finger on Luger, but they are pummeling Hogan.
And by the way, a side note here, this war raged on for 6 years. And there's one point where Nitro would beat him 83 straight weeks. And
they sure would.
The early episodes were tough, man. So I saved this for the end, right?
Yeah.
Craig, Dave, I believe you have a question to ask me about who won the first ever ratings battle.
I'd like,
on the
give
Monday
me the
Night War.
ratings.
So I have the ratings right here. Ladies and gentlemen, the show that we just reviewed got a 2.4, which is an amazing rating for 1995. A very fucking
it's amazing rating now.
For second time on
the Raw after SummerSlam, by the way, this year, 2022, the Raw after SummerSlam got a 2.2. And that was massive because, streaming options now and all that stuff or whatever.
Sure.
But back here for WCW, who didn't have the same national footprint like the WWF did or whatever, to get a 2.4, because the whole thing about Nitro, really quick, is the week before, I want to say they got a 2.1 or 2.2 unopposed, and people were like, okay, that's a good, but it's gonna cut
we'll
it
see what
down.
happens next week, though.
People were like, wrestling's not in a boom period, and they're gonna split the audience. So unfortunately, both programs are gonna get like 1 million a piece, and it's gonna be a moot point or whatever. So I just said Nitro got a 2.4 on week 2, which is up from their week point. I think it's up from the first week debut. I'll have to go back and look. Maybe the first unopposed Nitro got a little higher, but it was still in the 2 point something. So this Nitro got a 2.4. A taped Monday Night Raw this week, the first ever battle in the Monday Night Wars. Did I tell you Nitro got 2.4?
Yeah.
Monday Night Raw. WWF, Vince McMahon, Monday Night Raw. 2.5. They win.
Wow.
First ever battle. Taped Raw. And it just shows you that people are just swaying back and forth. Bruce Pritchard and Eric Bischoff both have a theory, and there's a name for it. I can't remember.
It's the
but
same
they're like,
people.
look, at least half of it is the same people. So they're like, don't get me wrong. There was a lot of households watching Monday Night Wrestling, especially in like 97, 98, 99 when it was at its apex.
Sure.
But they're like,
so
it wasn't
flipping.
like, you can't add, like, they were flipping so fast that it was counting them both, like, on each channel.
Right.
So there's a whole theory behind it. But just so you know, the next week, September the 18th, Raw would win again with a 2.7 to a Nitro 1.9. September the 25th, Raw, they would flip Raw. And this actually proves this theory. The week after, September the 25th, Raw would get a 1.9 and Nitro would win with a 2.7. They literally flipped. So that kind of supports the theory of the flipping. Yeah, the kind of weird thing. October the 2nd, Raw and Nitro tied 2.5 apiece. And then on October the 9th was the last one I wrote down. They tied again 2.6. So it's crazy. Like, the whole beginning was like a back and forth kind of fest and a weird. The flip-flop numbers really piqued my interest when I saw it, because I was like, oh, Bruce and Bischoff are kind of on to something. Like, about, like, again, it wasn't. You can't just add up both numbers and be like,
don't forget towards the end, Jess, they're trading off wins, and there's the 83 straight weeks, but those 83 straight weeks we're getting into the 4s and sometimes even the 5s.
And then Raw went nuts. Like in 99, 2000, Raw was getting like 5.1, 6.1. I think their highest rated segment was like a 7 point something. Like, it was crazy. I think it was the Rock and Podcast.
Craig, close this out, man. What you
got? Again, I think Jess said it all. Like, this is the beginning of the war. Armed for Battle, WCW, big, huge pocketbook. Vince had a lot to learn. You can still see from this first episode, it's still very much a one-man show. Vince is doing commentary and all the interviews in the ring and paying it out of all of his pocket. It's not the Attitude Era. It's not the billion-dollar company that you see now. It's the difference between having an empty, a blank checkbook, and his first time in competition in a long, long time. So it's the opening salvo in a very, very long Monday Night War. So interesting to see, like, and see the nostalgia back of
I
how
think
it
even
started.
more than the Rock and Wrestling symbolized the rise of Vince's dream and his like vision, but the death of everything else. I think the Monday Night War to me like is more important in the sense that like so both companies had to change over and over and over again as they got into the war. They both had to mature. And like Dave was saying, Goldberg, DDP was made, Austin became a star, Mick Foley, Three Faces of Foley, DX, like all this shit, like, started happening. And it was just like, they all were forced every week. It was like a pressure cooker. They're like, we have to, yeah.
It forced the Phoenix, so to speak. So it's rising from the ashes of the death of wrestling was brought back to life.
It was American wrestling was flat. It was just trying to rebuild the American wrestling. What did the audience want to see? Oh, they want to see a little bit more edgy stuff. They want to see.
Yeah.
They want like their real names. You like Hall and Nash? Okay, we'll call them Hall and Nash. Like it's just a crazy like time where for good and bad, you can look back now and be like, a lot of the stuff that kind of started happening there sucks. Yeah, but now we're correcting it. Look at the age we're walking into now. Ding dong, the Vince is dead. Not literally, but and then now you have this guy who we really liked his work in NXT. Now he gets the big company, and now he's just like, oh, let's just fucking go. And I know we all have different opinions about Triple H at various times in his career, but I love it. Reminds me again of Bischoff. Like at this point, so does Tony Khan. They all remind me of it. Even what Triple H is doing right now. Triple H is reminding me of Bischoff, going like,
he's already making.
I'm just gonna fucking try it. I'm just gonna try it. What is it gonna hurt? Like AEW is not even big enough to sniff our balls. Like I'm gonna try something. And then Khan on the other side's like, I'm gonna be the alternative. I'm gonna hate on them. I'm gonna tell everyone that their audience is shit and their product shit. And I'm gonna do blood. And Craig, I agree with you. It's a little too much sometimes, but he's literally the alternative. He's what TNA should have been the entire time. Like where he's just like, I'm gonna give you, like Dusty says, a good wrestling show with a buffet.
Yeah.
There's a little something for everybody. Like, and it's the truth. Like, it's the truth.
There you go. For audio fans, give us a listen on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and Google Podcast, or watch our videos on YouTube at Our Wrestling Channel. On social media, can you do us a gosh darn solid and give us a follow on Instagram or Twitter at O.W.P 2019 or on Facebook at Our Wrestling Podcast. For Jess, Craig, and Dave with the O.W.P, we are signing off. Have a good one.
Yes, do you live slave? The death of freedom, a valid choice. Doesn't this don't need a you